So today we're gonna make this pendant. So to start, I'm gonna make a necklace with an original design, and just a note, you can only use beads or stones that are level, like on the top and bottom, so you couldn't use like a curved stone. So this would be a curved stone, and you couldn't use that because the wire would just slip off. So first we're gonna cut maybe 7 inches of wire, 2 lengths of 14 gauge round, and I'm using sterling silver. So I cut one, and then I line it up, and I cut the other. And using some nylon-jaw pliers, I will straighten the wire. Sorry. Okay, so now we're gonna make a frame around the stone. And to do that, one wire is on the bottom and the other is on the top, and you want to center the wires. So this is 7 inches and the middle is 3.5. So you want to center the stone at 3.5 inches. And take your flat nose pliers and make a bend next to the stone where it ends, and make sure that bend has the right angle, and make sure the stone is sitting at the like angle that you want it to be in. Like that should be good. And then do the same on the other side. And like there. So maybe like you might need to have a few trials to get it right. Okay, that's too much room. So let's see, maybe right there. Okay, and then go bend it, and this angle needs to be less sharp, so that is how it looks. And then on the bottom you do the same thing, but make sure, oh right, first you have to bend the wire out in the middle of the stone. So like that, and then do the same on the other side. So you go like, so if this side has that much in between, the other side should also have that much in between. Okay, so that should be good enough. And then I want to do the same, this side. So you want to bend the wire there and make this angle, and it's a bit too much of an angle. Then you want to compare it and adjust. And see if it fits, And it does, but this angle needs to be a bit less. Oh. Just fiddle with it and then do the other side here. And make sure it's flat. I'm just fiddling. And I'm using my smaller chain nose flat pliers to get in there and make a smaller bend. So you want to make a frame like that around the stone. And then you want to make sure that the wires on either side are equal. And you can make one side like smaller than the other. So when you curl it, it makes different size spirals. So to do that, we're gonna line up everything again, and I just like to use the middle point of the ruler as the middle point for my stone and line it up that way. And since the top one, I want it to be larger, and the bottom one, I want it to be smaller. So I'm gonna make sure that the top one is even on both sides. So it's 1, 2, 3.5 about, and this 1, 2, 3.5. So that's pretty equal. But this one's not equal on the bottom, and I want it to make like maybe 1, 2 inches, maybe, or maybe 2.5 would be better. Oh, just cut myself with wire cutters. 1, 2.5. That would be around there, and just cut that and set that aside. And then here, 1, 2.5, and just cut that. And oh, better make sure the pliers are, the flush end is facing towards here. And then you want to sand this and make sure the ends will not, that way the ends will not poke anybody. So I would start with the rougher, larger grit first and sand it, and move to a smaller, finer grit. You can use sandpaper like this, or you can use a metal file. So first I will use a metal file and sand it. And just poke it to make sure it's smooth enough. If it's smooth enough, you don't really need to use the smaller grit. Oh, there's my cat. But if you want to, you can. And then you just do all the ends. And I would make sure you're wearing a mask, because the particles can be breathed in, and that would be bad. And what I do is I vacuum the floor. I do it over a trash can, and then I vacuum the floor afterwards so that the particles are all like vacuumed up and there's no remaining particles. So now the ends are all smooth and they won't hurt anybody. So then what you want to do is you want to see again if it fits. Okay, I think it's the wrong way. What you want to do is you want to take round nose or bail making pliers and curl the ends. And you want to make sure the ends are, like, when you end up curling them, that you curl them the same length. And this will be like the attachment area for the chain. So after you use your round nose pliers to curl, I recommend taking chain nose or flat nose pliers and curling the rest of the way, and I think that is enough. So now I will do the other side. Oops. And make sure the circles are even. And this can be used to make like a bracelet or even a ring. I'm not sure how you would make like earrings or a hair tie from this, but you could try. Okay, so let's see if that's even. Oh, right in the middle. That's pretty even. But I'm gonna curl this side a bit more so it's more even. There we go. And then you want to curl this in the opposite direction. Well, if you hold it like this, it would be the opposite direction, but if you hold it like that, it would be the same. So, like that. You want to curl it just a little bit since it's shorter. And this wire is kind of hard to grip, but just like that is enough. Or maybe even a smaller curl. Oops. And then press it flat with the pliers. You can sand this with finer grit sandpaper. Make sure the marks don't show up. And then let's see. I think was it that way? I think it was that way. And then it was like that. Yeah, it was like that. Okay. I would actually I'm gonna make this a bit longer. And let's see if this is even. It's pretty even. Now comes the part where you take 26 gauge wire, and I bought mine from Rio Grande, and you're gonna start coiling and weaving. So I would recommend using tape, such as masking tape, and take the stone out and just kind of line it up, and then tape the two pieces together, and that way you'll know when to stop. So basically we're gonna coil until we reach where the two wires meet, and then we're gonna do a weave, and then I'll show you how to attach the stone. Masking tape makes it easier to know when to start the weave and when to stop the coil. So I have like a few inches here, and I'm just gonna put this right in the middle and make sure that the stone like still fits inside it. That's good. Okay, and then just tape it around. So then you're gonna take your 26 gauge and you can just leave it on the spool. But if you want to make it easier, you could like cut like a meter or two. And then you want to take this and, ooh, I taped it on the wrong place. So actually you want to tape it like right here where the two wires meet. Oops. And make sure it's all lined up, of course. And tape it here. Okay. And make sure there's like a slight gap between the wires, but not like too much of a gap. And just go like that, and then you can start coiling around this longer wire and leave a tail end so that the wire doesn't slip. So to coil the wire, you leave a tail and you just flip the piece over and over because it's still the thin wire is attached to the spool, and you just like guide the wire along and kind of pull it so that it's tight against the other wire, and just keep spinning it round and round until you reach the other wire. And every once in a while you can use your fingers or you can use some pliers and just pinch the thin wires together so that they are closer together and even. You could also use even thinner wire like 28 gauge or 30 gauge, but because the 14 gauge wire is so thick, I feel like the 26 gauge wire, which is thicker than 28 or 30, would be most suited for it because it's also pretty thick, the 14 gauges. And then, then you would coil until you reach this point, and you can start weaving. Once you reach that point, or if your wire can fit between the curve and this wire, you can take the tape off at this point. And if there's residue on it, you can use alcohol or you can just wipe it off with your fingers. Well, I'm gonna show you how to do a 3-3 weave. Oh, but first, we can cut the tail of the wire at the beginning. So it would be this wire, and just use your flesh cutters to get in there and cut it. And then I would recommend some bent nose pliers, look like this, to squish down the tail of that wire. Squish it down so it does not poke anybody. Yeah, this is hard to do. Okay, there you go. Yep, and then I always save my wire in like a plastic bag labeled with the gauge in the, like, whether it's round or half round. This is all round wire, by the way. So, is it like that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so, let's move it over here. Or is it like that? Yeah, it was like that. Okay, so let's see. So now, what you do, whoop, my wire got tangled. Is you make a few coils around both wires. 3 coils around both wires. Ooh, this would be easier with masking tape. Hold on. Just for the first few, I'm gonna tape. Oops, it got rolled on itself. I'm gonna tape this part. And just like that. So it's a bit easier for the first few coils. So what you want to do again is make 3 coils around both wires and make sure there's like a small gap in between the 2 thicker wires. So that's 3. And then you'll want to take the tape off and line it up and make sure the wires don't cross over each other. And then you want to make 1, 2, 3 wraps around the bottom shorter wire. Like that. And then you want to repeat the 3 around the top, or not around the top, but around both. And you can spin the wire if it's on your spool to make it easier. And then 3 around the bottom again. And then 3 around both. Continue until you get to a place where the wires separate. And of course, pinch the wires together as you go. I think I can do 3 more. Or maybe not. Maybe. Yep, okay. So now what you want to do is you want to coil the bottom wire until it gets to about like 1/3 or 1/4 of this length. And then we will start to attach the stone. And if you had a bead, you would not coil until here. You would coil until here, and then you would string the bead and over to here, and then you would coil more here and stuff, and coil here and here as well. Or you could loop it through a few times to make it stronger. Oh, I think that's good. Yeah, okay. So now we just wrap it around the stone like that, and make sure the wires don't cross, which is tricky sometimes. And you can, like, the more wraps you do, the better, like, the more secure it is. Maybe 7 would be good. So this is, oh, that crossed over. This is 6. This is 7. Okay, and then you want to cross to the bottom of it. And here's the tricky part. Hold on while you're taking the masking tape off. Hold on to the coils and make sure they don't slip or cross over each other. Okay. And you can just rub off that. Let's see. Okay, that's good. And then start coiling. Be careful with the wire here, because it might, if you pull on it against the stone too hard, it could break. Start coiling the bottom part again. So see, that attaches a stone, and then we're going to make another attachment there. So just keep pulling until you reach that point. This is another advantage of having a thicker wire, is that it won't break as easily. And another way to coil, instead of spinning the piece, is just to go like this. So when you get to this point, before you reach the end of the stone, you wanna, maybe you can take like some masking tape and retape this part. There we go. And that'll tighten these as well, I hope. And then you wanna wrap it again around the whole stone. And wrap it like the same number of times, or you could do a different number of times if you wanted. How many is that? I'm gonna do 7 wraps again. I'm gonna take this off. And I'm gonna coil again around the bottom wires until I get to here. The other thing you would do is you could hammer these thick wires with a chasing, some sort of hammer, or like the hammer with the round end or with the flat end, and like make divots in it or just flatten it. So once you get to this point, you want to do what we did on the other side and wrap 3 times around both thick wires, making sure the thick wires are side by side and they don't cross over. Just like that. Then 3 times around the bottom wire. And pinch it down with your pliers. And then 3 times around both wires. Sorry if it went out of frame. 3 times around the bottom. 3 times around both. And so on. And you want to end by, let's see, this one is not getting in there, so I'm just going to move that wire and then move it back. And end with did it the wrong way. This is supposed to be, like, these coils supposed to be here, but that's fine. End it with 3 around, or end it with some around the top until you reach the end. Then you can trim this wire and smush it down with your bent nose pliers. There you go, so it doesn't like hurt anybody. So now next we're gonna coil this top part. You could leave it as it is and skip to the next part if you want. But I think that coiling it just makes it look better. I have 15 inches of scrap wire that I'm gonna use, and I'm gonna first straighten it to straighten out all the kinks with the nylon-jaw pliers. And you can't just have a wire on the spool unless you have a long tail. So just starting from here, I'm gonna coil some. And just keep coiling until I reach here. So what I do is I feed it through and pull it tight, wrap it around, feed it through, pull it tight, and get that kink out of the way. Or, I don't, there's another way to do it where you kind of make a bend in the wire, not a sharp bend though, like a soft bend, and you feed it through this way, and that way it doesn't get all tangled. But if the space is too small, you can just feed the end through. And if you're wondering what stone I'm using, I believe this is a yellow calcite that I got from like a museum actually. But I find that gem shows are actually really good places to get your gems, or buy them online through like Etsy or like Instagram, or what's the other one? Oh, Fire Mountain Gems. Yeah. So if your wire breaks, learn this. Oh, this design is sort of inspired by Yvonne Williams, but if your wire breaks, another thing I learned from Yvonne Williams on YouTube is if you just split the wires open and then make sure the wire is coming out like the right way, you can splice it in. Oh wait, leave a tail first. And like kind of wrap the new wire in between the old wire. It's kind of difficult sometimes. Yep. And then just keep wire wrapping around and around. And hopefully I'll remember to put like a link to Yvonne's video that I was inspired by. That will be in the description. So as you get to the end, it gets a bit harder, but if you want to like squish the wires together to make room, you can do that. And you want to trim the ends and tuck them down. You want to coil this part and this part as well. So since here, like the gap is really small, you can carefully get a pin and stick it in and make the opening a bit bigger. Or you could stick it in on the open side and just kind of move it over, pull it over to the side that's hard to get to. And carefully use your pliers and pull. You can also use your pliers, pinch it down. So now I'm done making this part, and it looks like that. And so now I just gotta curve these up. Make sure the wires are nice, sitting next to each other, and then make sure that the wires don't like bend over on themselves, and it just makes it look better. And you can use round nose pliers to do this. Or chain nose pliers. It's kind of hard because the wire is so thick. And that is your pendant. You can attach some jump rings here and make it a necklace. And some other designs I've done, I'll show you in a minute. So if this part is bunched up, you just use your flat nose pliers and pinch it. I have some jump rings here, so to attach them, you'd put it here or here. Just use your pliers and then like that. And there you go. And then you could attach a chain. So I put some smaller jump rings on this chain. And you could, of course, cut the chain in two and put clasps, but if your chain is long enough, you don't really need to do that. And then just hook the smaller jump rings on to the bigger ones. Close it up. And do the same for the other side. Oh. And close that one up. And there you go. There's your necklace. And it lays like that. So I've made this ring. So it uses a bead, and then the coil is there and there. And I also made this bracelet that uses a bead. So I just wove it through, and it looks like that. Thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night. Bye.